So students, our next topic is the physiology of the salivary secretion. So there are three pairs of salivary glands. Number one is the parotid gland, second submandibular gland, and third is the sublingual salivary glands. So coming to the classification of salivary glands. Number one, they can be classified based on either on the anatomy or on the mode of secretion. So based on the anatomy, they can be either major salivary glands or the minor salivary glands. So the major salivary glands you have to remember is the parotid gland, sublingual gland, submandibular gland. And whereas the minor salivary glands, they can be labial and buccal glands, glossopalatine glands, lingual glands, glands of Blandin and Nuhan, Bone-Ebner glands, or Carnot glands. So the salivary glands, based on the secretion, they can be either serous, mucus, or mixed. As we know, the salivary glands contain chiefly two types of cells. It can be either mucus cells, so the both set of glands contain their secretory cells into acini, where the cells are arranged around the central lumen that leads into the duct. So these duct forms the intralobular duct or interlobular duct that leads into the main duct. For the exam point of view, you have to just remember that parotid gland, it is purely serous gland. The sublingual gland, it is mixed, mainly mucus, whereas the submandibular gland, it is mixed, mainly the serous. Parotid gland, it is purely serous, whereas sublingual gland, it is mixed, but mainly mucus. And the submandibular gland, it is mainly the serous one. Whereas the labial and buccal glands, they are the mixed type. Glossopharyngeal palatine glands, they are mucus glands. The lingual glands is mixed, and the Bone-Ebner glands, they are serous. This table you have to remember for your exam. The parotid gland, they develop at the corner of the stomodium as plus chord. The parotid gland, remember for your exam, they develop at the 6th week of intrauterine life, whereas the submandibular gland, they are located at the floor of mouth. They develop at the end of the 6th week of intrauterine life. The sublingual gland, they develop at 8th week of intrauterine life, and the minor salivary glands, they develop at 12th week of intrauterine life.
So number one comes the parotid gland. This one is the parotid gland. You have to remember for your exam that the parotid gland, it weighs around 20 to 30 gram. The parotid gland, it weighs around 20 to 30 gram. It is present in the front of ear. The parotid gland, it is present in the front of ear. So its secretion passes by the, remember its secretion passes by the Stenson duct. So what is the duct? It is the Stenson duct that opens opposite the crown of second molar tooth. So for your exam point of view, you have to just remember this, that its secretion is just opposite the crown of upper second molar tooth, and it is known as the Stenson duct. So it contains, as we discussed before, it contains purely serous cells. And the source of parasympathetic nerve supply is by 9th nerve. Second comes the submandibular or submaxillary gland and duct. So this one is the submandibular duct. Remember, it is present medial to the mandible in the submaxillary triangle. Its duct is named as Wharton duct. So you have to remember this for your exam. Its duct is named as Wharton duct that opens into floor of mouth. That opens into the floor of mouth along the side of frenulum lingulae. So its duct open into the floor of mouth. That is what you have to remember. So it contains mixed. The submandibular gland, it contains both serous and mucus cells, but the serous cells, they are predominant. Its parasympathetic nerve supply is by the 7th nerve. The sublingual gland, these are the pair of the sublingual gland. So they are present adjacent to the floor of the mouth. So their secretions, remember their secretions are known as Rivinus, duct of Rivinus. So their secretions are discharged by small duct that are known as duct of Revenus. So they are mainly the mucus type. Now as we discussed that there are two types of cells. One are the mucus secreting cells and other are the serous cells. So mucus cells, they contain large translucent mucinogen granules. So the mucus cells contains mucinogen granules. So it forms a viscous secretion containing a mucin. That is a useful lubricant for the food and protecting the oral mucosa. Whereas the serous cells, they contain opaque small zymogen granules. That is precursor of ptyalin. So they form a thin watery secretion containing ptyalin that initiate the digestion of starch to the maltose. Next we are going to discuss the composition of saliva. Remember, daily secretion of saliva is 1500 ml per day. So for exam point of view, you have to just remember the daily secretion of saliva, that is 1500 ml per day. So saliva consists of water, that is 99.5%, and solids. It contains organic substance that can be either enzymes or other organic substance. So the enzymes are amylase, maltase, lingual lipase, lysozyme, phosphatase, carbonic anhydrase and cholecalciferin. Whereas the other organic substances, they are mucin, albumin, proline, lactoferrin, IgA, free amino acid, non-protein nitrogenous substances that can be urea, uric acid, creatinine, xanthine, hypoxanthine. Coming to the inorganic substances, they can be sodium, calcium, potassium, bicarbonate, chlorine, fluorine, phosphate, and the gases that are oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. Remember, normally glucose is absent in the saliva, but it is present in the saliva during the diabetes mellitus. So this point you have to remember. Other point you have to remember is saliva contains a lipolytic enzyme. What is that? It is a lingual lipase. Saliva contains immunoglobulin like IgA. It is the first immunological defense against the bacteria and the viruses. So coming to the function of saliva, number one, it contains ptyalin. First of all, it contains ptyalin. So that aids in the digestion of starch. So ptyalin, that is salivary alpha amylase enzyme, that helps in the digestion of starch. So the amylase digestion can continue in the stomach for approximately half an hour until it is arrested by the excessive acidity of the gastric content. So remember, amylase, it is inactive at pH less than or equal to 4. That is only you have to remember for the exam. Other thing, it contains mucin that lubricates the food, protects the oral mucosa, aids speech by facilitating movement of lips and tongue. It keeps the mouth moist. It contains various lysozymes. So lysozymes that has a function to kill the bacteria. IgA that provides the immunological defense against the bacteria. Lactoferrin. The lactoferrin, so that binds the iron. So it is, remember, it is bacteriostatic and binds iron. It contains, saliva contains proline rich proteins. So they help to bind. So proline rich proteins in saliva help to bind the toxic tannins and maintain the oral pH at 7. So it protects the tooth enamel. The buffer in saliva also help to neutralize the gastric acid and relieve the heartburn.
Now let us discuss the mechanism of salivary secretion.
So there are two stages of salivary gland secretion model. Number one, in stage 1, the acinar cells, they secrete sodium chloride rich fluid. So the acinar cells here secretes the sodium chloride rich fluid, that is called the primary saliva. So that makes the saliva isotonic. And in stage 2, this primary saliva gets modified by passage along the ductal tree. So deabsorbing the sodium chloride and secreting potassium bicarbonate. So the saliva become potassium rich and sodium and poor in sodium chloride. That makes it a hypotonic fluid. So the final saliva is hypotonic. So remember, at the rest, the saliva contains more of the potassium and less of sodium. As the salivary flow increases, there is less time for the ion exchange in the duct. As the result, the saliva becomes less hypotonic. So the saliva production is under the control of parasympathetic and sympathetic activity. Number 1, there is stimulation of the parasympathetic nerves that liberate proteolytic enzyme kallikrein from the gland cells, which form bradykinin. So the effect is mediated by release of acetylcholine. So that produces vasodilation of the blood vessels of salivary glands and causes profuse secretion of watery saliva. Also remember the atropine that will reduce the salivary secretion. Second, stimulation of the sympathetic nerves. So that causes secretion of small amount of saliva that is rich in organic constituent and mucus from the submandibular and sublingual gland. Now what are the factors that increases the saliva secretion? So there is factors that increase the saliva secretion by the activation of parasympathetic nervous system. Number 1 is the food in the mouth, smell, conditioned reflexes. Now the factors that inhibit the salivary secretion, they are the sleep, dehydration, fear, or the drugs like the atropine. So these all decreases salivary production. So the suppression of the salivary secretion is known as atalism, or it is known as xerostomia. So the anxiety, fear, dehydration, they cause the temporary suppression of the salivary secretion. So the patient with xerostomia, they will have higher than the normal incidence of the dental caries. Or decreased saliva could be due to the duct obstruction due to the calculus that causes permanent suppression of the salivary secretion. Or third, it can be irradiation therapy in the area of the salivary gland. Whereas the hypersecretion of the saliva, it is known as the sialorrhea. Now condition where the sialorrhea can be seen is the pregnancy, Parkinsonism, schizophrenia, or neoplasm. So remember this for your exam point of view. Now let us revise the things. The amount of saliva that is secreted per day, we discussed it was 1500 ml. The salivary alpha amylase readily inactivated at the pH below 4. The proteolytic enzyme that is present in saliva, it is the kallikrein. The maximum contribution to the total daily secretion is by the submandibular gland.